freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round one recap for this week's Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Joining me to break it all down, Kyle Porter is here. KP, happy Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday to you, Rick. I thought it was a really fun day. You know, at Pebble, we talked about this. I wrote about it before the tournament. It's just been, it's had bad fields. There's not really another way to say that. And at one point we had like half the Ryder Cup in the top six. It was super fun, and it's Pebble, right? So it's great views, great. I don't know. Just I was very encouraged and uplifted by the events of today.
I enjoyed it as well. That star-studded field, or excuse me, that star-studded top of the leaderboard did get a little bit of a shift late. We'll talk about that. But we have to jump into the new PGA Tour Enterprises announcement. This is obviously something that has been in the works for the last couple of months, but let's just lay it out on the table and see where we stand. Yesterday, the PGA Tour announced the new PGA Tour Enterprises. That's a brand new entity that is getting a $3 billion investment and partnership through Strategic Sports Group, SSG. That's the Fenway Group, all these, sports owners, what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And it became official, KP, $1.5 billion in equity for the players, making this the first sports organization, or at least American or North American sports organization, where players have equity in the league, and another $1.5 billion in investments. That's about as much as we know about the details of how that money will be spent, but it is coming in.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that no matter how you analyze or evaluate it right now, you're going to look dumb 5 years from now, right? And I think it's also, you can talk yourself into kind of anything with this. I think that's how sort of amorphous it is, because you look at it and you're like, hey, $3 billion. I guess for the purposes of the argument I'm about to make, it's really $1.5 billion. We can do some things with that, right? We can improve some things. We can go down the list of ways to make the league more efficient and better, and a better product, and all these different things. But then the flip side of that is this who you trust to do so, right? And I think you could probably talk yourself into the Strategic Sports Group being trustworthy, because I think their track record in other sports is really good. I mean, just legitimately is. PGA Tour, I don't know. I mean, what are they trustworthy when it comes to product improvement? I don't know that you can say yes with straight face, right? So I don't know. I don't really know how to feel. I'm like cautiously optimistic and kind of excited, but very wary about how all this is gonna play out.
I absolutely trust that they will make this better. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I agree with what the definition of better is going to be,
right,
or who that's going to be for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is going to be amazing for high-end professional golfers. I think that there are going to be a lot of great corporate outings and sponsorship opportunities and crossover into some of these other sports with owners in the NFL and baseball. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. I have yet to see or hear one thing that might make this experience better for fans.
Yeah. Where do you, so I think I have two questions that are sort of outstanding for you and for myself, because, a lot of this, I think some of this, people, they want you to evaluate or analyze it like it's the Ravens Chiefs game, where it's done and you're like, well, this is what Lamar should have done better, or this is why Mahomes is going to his fourth Super Bowl or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think it works like that. I think we have to get 3, 4, 7, 10 years out before we can legitimately evaluate. But I'm curious about where you see with players having equity in a league, in the business of the league. That's so, you mentioned it off the top, that's so different than anything else, right? Like because even if, like, players don't even have equity allegedly in the teams that they're on, right? Like Ohtani doesn't have equity allegedly in the Angels.
Right.
Even weirder, it would be even more strange if he had equity in Major League Baseball, right? Like as a whole. Sorry, Dodgers. My bad.
I didn't even catch that. I didn't even catch that.
Where do you stand on that? Because I think there's some interesting arguments to be made there.
I think on the surface, the easy explanation is that, well, hey, now they are more invested in the future of the league, right? If you own, let's say Rory McIlroy owns 1% equity in the PGA Tour. If the PGA Tour ceases to exist, that is like a lot of lost money for Rory. He is incentivized to go out and promote and do things, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if that, what I also think that does is I think it siphons a lot of money out of the league to fund this program, in which there should already be a lot of incentive for these guys to have their livelihood.
Yeah.
Right. The idea, if you are in a very desirable position, whatever that is in the world, you want that position, that company, that whatever, to continue to succeed and grow. So there's more opportunity. You can continue to be the best, and you can continue to make a lot of money at it. I think that half of this investment, half of it going into vesting equity for the players, is basically removing half of the investment from the ecosystem.
Yes, I agree with that. I think what's really difficult to measure is, and we don't know the details of any of this yet, but what does that equity look like 25 years from now, right? Where some, 7-year-old right now becomes a PGA Tour player. So for example, I have equity in CBS as a corporation. Paramount, I guess now, is what the corporation is. It's not a ton, but this is not uncommon. When you work at a corporation, you get shares of their stock, right? Like that's part of the compensation plan. Now those shares, because there's so many people and it's been such a long time, they're not it's difficult to maintain the value of them, even if you have a lot of them, over a long period of time. Because what has to happen, Rick? You have to keep getting bigger. You have to keep generating more revenue. And it's like, I think there's kind of a cap on this, probably, And so I wonder if those will even be if the equity will even be valuable when you get 25 years in, and all of a sudden 10,000 people have equity in the PGA Tour.
And the other thing is, maybe I'm not a good example. I am a good example, because I am not part of the stock plan at Paramount, but I can go buy Paramount stock, right? Joe Average can go and, Elon Musk could buy up a percentage of stock in a company. That's different than what's happening here, unless they're going to open up PGA Tour Enterprises and have it go public and let other people invest, right? Because you have this insulated group of people that, again, all I think is going to happen is, right, it's going to, one, remove that investment from the ecosystem, because these guys are just going to put it in their bank accounts, and it is also going to continue and to be diluted over time as more guys get into the program, unless they are constantly, and maybe they plan to keep adding more to it, which would require the PGA Tour Enterprises to continue to grow, more investments to come in that are being earmarked just for equity. Like that's the thing. Like they're not getting
and we're sort of talking through this as we're going, but they're not getting pieces of paper like shares, right? They're getting $1.5 billion, right?
That's my understanding. And it says, these grants will vest over time based on career achievements, recent accomplishments, future participation, services to the PGA Tour membership status. So it's kind of like the way that I read that is, there's already a retirement plan in place for the PGA Tour that plays that, like, based on how many cuts you make and all this stuff, like money goes into it. That's kind of what it seems like. And then maybe after a year, you can take out so much of that. And after 2 years, more of that vests. And after 3, that's the way that I read it.
So at some point that, again, because it's not shares, you can't just like make more of them. Mm-hmm. That money runs out and you're like, well, sorry, you should have been around in 2024.
Or unlike shares, if you want to sell your shares, you need someone to buy them.
The whole thing is just, I think I want to talk about the PIF real quick before we get to Pebble. I think the other part that I just feel wary about, man, is the players, and Sean Zock tweeted this out, they retained a lot of control in PGA Tour enterprises, right? And I like Jordan Spieth. I enjoy talking to him. I like Webb Simpson. I really enjoy talking to him. I don't know if it's good for any league to have its players running the league, right? I know they're like, well, SSG we're gonna consult with it, and it's like, I just like, yeah, but like you have control and power, and I don't think that's a good thing. I feel like I've been pretty adamant about this for a long time now, that it's really, and I guess they would argue, look, we're aligning incentives because now we have equity in the league growing and getting bigger, but growing revenue isn't always aligned with the fans' incentive, right? Like it seems like it is, but
it is not.
Yeah, like I just, I don't know. I don't I don't love that part of it.
There is a common saying that I think fits this situation, that the patients are now running the asylum, which is usually a warning. That's usually not a good thing. That is something that has happening right now on the PGA Tour. This does not include the PIF.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is SSG, the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, the new enterprises. The PIF, Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, is not in this. Now, there's kind of, I don't want to say conflicting reports, but the official press releases say those negotiations are still ongoing. More investment could be coming. Kind of, if you hear like those negotiations might not be going so great, obviously, with John Rahm and Terrell Hatton and Liv starting their season this week in Mayakoba. So there still might be this 2-league system that we have.
Did you see Spieth's comments yesterday?
You know what? I did not. I saw Rory's comments. I saw that Spieth was asked about it, but I did not see what he said.
I'm going to paraphrase. We don't need the exact quote, I don't think, but he basically said, like, we don't, and this has been a pretty common thing that other guys have said. I think Webb might have said it, somebody else. Like, essentially, but we're not operating as if we need the PIF. And you're like, maybe. Mm-hmm. Hope so. Like I just, I threw this question out on Twitter because we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but does SSG view the PIF as a bigger risk or threat inside or outside of the group? Like, do they want them in or do they want them out? Where's the greater risk? And I think the greater risk is if they are outside of the moat, the literal and figurative moat at the global headquarters in Ponte Vedra. I think it's fascinating that SSG is they've invested $3 billion into a league that has lost 10% of its top talent, something like that. with no real end in sight. The whole PIF thing is like, and that's the part where I kind of look at it and I'm like, cool, you got $3 billion. Congratulations. Like, that's great. I'm very happy that you guys are all going to be a lot richer. Why don't you come holler at me whenever everybody's playing together again?
Yeah. And if there is no end in sight and you think $3 billion is going to do it, it's not. We've seen that. So hopefully they know about an end in sight better than we do. We could talk about this all night. We've got Pebble Beach to continue, cover 2 golf courses. Fun day of golf. We'll talk about that after a quick word from our partners.
The 49ers are going back to the Super Bowl.
The champs are still in it, headed to Vegas.
And we're back. KP, let's go course by course here. We'll start with Spyglass. That did play easier on Thursday by a little more than a half shot, 1.6 under par. The biggest name over at Spyglass was Rory McIlroy, who had this thing rocking and rolling, was 6 under with 4 holes to play. He was the sole leader at the time before he made a bogey on 6, a bogey on 7, asterisks, a bogey on 8, and a par on 9. We would then find out that the drop that he took on 7 was a bad drop. He was assessed a 2-stroke penalty, changing that bogey into a triple on a par 5. And he goes from a round that was cruising bogey free at 6 under to finishing at 71, 1 under par.
Yeah, I got a text from somebody after he got to 6 under. Did he? Yeah. He got to 6 under after the 5th hole on the back.
Yes.
And I got a text from somebody in the media that was like, it's Rory's year. This is it. He's going to win everything. Literally bogey, and really bogey, triple bogey over the next 3 holes, and it evaporated. Not good. Not a good start. I mean, I was certainly more surprised by the ending than the beginning. He's been playing such good golf. I know the Middle East is not, it's not super strong fields, but his golf has been so consistently great for such a long time that the floor just seems incredibly high. And then the drop on what was that, 7 was just weird and bad, and he was using an old rule and just a bunch of normal sports stuff, right? So he's got work to do. I mean, I think he can do it. He hit it. I thought he hit it very well. The ending was kind of a disaster.
Hat tip for not calling a rules official in and just going with it and doing your thing. But in this case, probably should have called somebody and gotten.
Are you pro just like playing as fast as you can and moving on? Or are you pro always bringing in a rules official?
I think that the athletes should be aware enough of the rules of their sport to be able to do this without calling a rules official in for every little thing. I think in some situations it's clearly obvious what is going to happen, and these guys call somebody in to take sprinkler head relief when it is just completely unnecessary, or cart path relief. But you got to execute it right. Like there's no point in trying to play fast if you're not going to get it right. And in this case, I don't know what the situation was. I imagine there's a ton of waiting because it's a Pro-Am. In this case, he probably should have called somebody in. But in general, like, you don't need to call somebody in to take relief from a cart path.
Was there not somebody over? I thought there was somebody over there. I don't know. I was kind of in and out. You know what would suck? Is to be a caddy in this situation.
Yes. Because
as a caddy, you're the one that can kind of step in and be like the emergency brake for your player, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the we've talked about the rule book before. It's preposterous. Like, you're changing rules that got implemented 4 years ago. It's so impossible to know every specific detail, right? It's not impossible to know like the main stuff and just the general concepts, but it's such a like a club length, right? Like this way or that way. And if it rolls, it's fine. If it doesn't, it's not fine. That stuff like that is just, it's exhausting. And I don't know how anybody ever remembers any of it.
Agree with that. The rules are wonky. Ricky Fowler goes out and shoots a 5 under 67, bogey free, by far the best round that we have seen from Ricky basically since he won last year.
Ricky Fowler. He didn't. I didn't realize this. I was off the weekend of the American Express, and I just didn't really notice him at Kapalua, but he was bad. He finished 56 at Kapalua, missed the cut at American Express, and just has not he's just not played good golf. And so I thought it was cool to see him. He talked about warming up for this by playing 2 rounds at Cypress. Is that good? Is that fun? But yeah, he's and I was wrong about this. Hand up. I thought he was going to win Detroit last year and then kind of take off a little bit, and he has not. He's gone the other way, and that's been disappointing because I thought he was kind of whatever back means. I thought he was ready to be like a top 15, top 10 guy again, and I mean, he's kind of shown that he's not.
We'll do 2 more. We'll hit the leader and we'll get out of here. Patrick Cantlay, 8 under 64 over at Spyglass, bogey free, clinical. He made birdies he started on the back. So that's 13, 17, 18, 1 and 2. So that's a 4-hole birdie streak. And then he gets another at 5, 2 more at 7 and 8. So yeah, this is kind of what he does at this event.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what he does in general, right? The starting tournaments hadn't been the problem. Shot 65 last week at Torrey to open. Then he dropped to like T54 by the end of the week. So for him, it's just about maintaining and actually winning and not just shooting good rounds and coming in. I think he's finished T4, T5 his last 2 starts at Pebble, maybe T3, T4, something like that. So it's all about getting a win. He hasn't won in a long time. I mean, for a player of his caliber, I don't mean for the Peter Malnati's of the world, but it's been since the end of 2022 that Patrick Cantlay has won.
Collin Morikawa shot one of the better rounds over at Pebble Beach, a 5 under 67. He said afterwards he's just trying to relax a little more, not put so much pressure on himself. We saw the same thing last week where he got off to a hot start at Torrey Pines. Now he missed the cut after a bad Friday. He doesn't have to worry about that this time around. But Collin, we've talked about this a lot, is playing really good golf. It just is. It's all got to just come together for him.
Yeah. Do you think it's a putting 4 rounds together type thing? He seems.
Yeah.
I thought with both of these guys that it would be like big time years. And granted, it's first day of February. Like it's
first, cut them some slack.
It's very early. I think they've shown flashes so far this year, but both him and Cantlay have just been a little more inconsistent than maybe I would have thought.
Xander Schauffele hit 2 in the Pacific on 18.
Brutal. He's my one and done.
He goes from 2 under to 1 over, triple on 18. That's the par 5 at Pebble. Yeah, that was not pretty.
Oh, it was atrocious.
Let's see the betting board, Josh, because they are all chasing down one Thomas Dietrich, who got in with a flurry, 3 birdies in a row, including a chip in. He is 10-1 to win this golf tournament. Patrick Cantlay, probably no surprise, the heavy favorite to win at 3-1. Collin Morikawa at 11, Scotty Scheffler at 12. Matthew Pavone right back in the mix, 7 under, is 16-1. JT's there as well. So they're going to flip, KP, go to the other course tomorrow and level this thing up.
Yeah, give me JT at 16 and give me whatever Rory's at if he's obviously he's not on this board, so he's longer than 22.
He's 28.
Yeah, give me all of that.
I'm with, yes, JT at 16, who is T8 and shot a 4 under 68 and big believer. Love that. And yeah, I don't know. That's the one I like most tonight. We'll kind of see as everything pans out.
Scheffler gets a lot of respect with this, man. He's he's 3 under, which was it was a decent round, but it's also Spyglass is a stroke easier. He's behind JT on the leaderboard, and he's ahead of him on the betting board. I don't know that I agree with that. But he gets a ton of. Morikawa's also interesting here. What did Victor finish at? Is he 3 under also?
Yeah, I think he made birdie on the last to get.
That's right.
Yeah, he did 3.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I like those two. Siwoo's interesting, and then Rory at 28, 30, 35, whatever.
All right. Well, listen, we are 18 holes in the books. We've got 54 more to go. We'll be back after each and every single one of those rounds. And for now, I thank producer Josh, who does all the hard work behind the scenes. KP can be found on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.